Is this thing on? I can't tell if this thing is on. There we go. So, I don't even know what time it is. I've been at this for like 26 hours now trying to figure this out. My name's Sal. I'm a lead journalist to this murder. Man in his early 30s. I've been traveling throughout the city trying to figure this thing out. There's been all these miracles. The dead were coming back to life. People's limbs were growing back. Diseases were being healed. And somehow this man was murdered, but there's no body. It just doesn't make any sense. How does a man who was constantly surrounded by people, he was buried? Witnesses were at the tomb? So where is the body?
All right, look. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I know my rights. Understand me? As of now, all of this is just allegations. So look, all right. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. Someone comes up to me and say, no, allegedly, no, they gave you some money, allegedly, no, to guard this tomb. So I'm thinking, guard the tomb? Okay, man, look, I've been guarding stuff all my life, to be honest. You know, cause this ain't nothing for me. So I'm gonna guard the tomb. And then as I'm guarding the tomb, some old weird stuff happened to me. Like, you know, this angel type of figure came up to me. I'm like, oh, hold up now, hold up, wait, oh, back up now. But anywho, as I'm doing all of that, you know, the body that I was watching just disappeared. So words start getting around town and everything about like this whole situation. You know, cause no people be talking about stuff. Then like some disciples come up to me and say, you know, the body was snatched like a thief in the night. And they gave me money, you know, to kind of, you know, tell that story. So I took it, allegedly. All right, look. I can't lose my job. You understand me? I can't go to jail. You know, they say you do the crime, you do the time. I can't do neither. Cause I ain't do nothing, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Cause this just don't make no sense. They just trying to blame everything on everybody. Like, I ain't do nothing. But listen, off the record, cause look, I ain't no snitch. I ain't never been no snitch. But like off the record, ain't nobody come for that body. No, nobody come for that. That body left on its own. So you know what? Maybe he is what he said he was. Allegedly.
Just interviewed the guard. Allegedly, he had 0 sightings of the body. Sam tagged me in a post? This meme is so me. Oh no, these videos always get me. Oh, I love dance videos. I should sign up for hip-hop classes. I can't believe I got this typewriter for so cheap. In Fishtown, I am so hipster. Typing things on my typewriter that I got at a thrift shop. I even look hipster. I'm like a buff hipster guy, just typing with my big muscles. Oh man, where was I? So my next interview had to be with someone who for sure saw the body. The man who buried the body.
Jesus was different, you know, he was caring, he loved people he saw. the good in them no matter what. His care for them, his compassion for everyone. It was something that, like, I'm a pretty well-off guy. I get what I want. But Jesus, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be that person, and it was something that I could never buy. After he died and his friends ran off, I knew I had to do something. I went to Pilate. I asked him if I could be the one to bury him. When I got to his body, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. His body was completely torn. I started cleaning his wounds and wrapping his body, and I took him to a tomb I had made for myself, and I just couldn't help to think, how can a man like this die this way? How can he, after everything he did, after everything he showed me, how can he ever be treated like this? He deserved so much more. You probably think I'm some type of freak. I mean, who volunteers to clean and bury a body? He was that kind of person. You see, in the time that I walked with him, he had taken it upon himself to take care of my dead body, to cleanse me, to clean my wounds. And when I was walking around lifeless and thinking that I had it all, he gave me true life. He revived something in me. He gave his life so that every wound that I get from now until I die will be cleansed and healed. And there's nothing I could ever do, nothing I could make happen to deserve that. But he did it anyway.
This still isn't making sense. I keep hearing about how great this man is, yet his body is nowhere to be found. Even the man who buried it doesn't know where it went. How does a body just disappear? Hey babe, where do you want to go for dinner? Anywhere, you pick. I don't care what we eat, you pick. Applebee's. I hate Applebee's. Sounds like another murder is gonna happen. Shouldn't probably send that. I'm not really in the mood for Chinese. Actually, I'm not really in the mood for your indecisiveness. Why don't you cook something for once? Or I don't know, shouldn't send that either. Sushi? No. Oh my gosh. At this point, I am running out of ideas. Hopefully, my next interview has the answers that I need for this story.
He wasn't just a man. I've met a lot of men in my life, and none of them could do what he did for me, or what he did for everyone he encountered. He changed the way people looked at me. He changed the way I looked at me, and I could never figure out why. I was so messed up. Just always worried about what was coming next. I was so dirty. But the very first time I saw him, I knew. I don't know how, but I knew he would be the one to fix everything. And so I just began to follow him. I can't remember my life before him, and I don't want to. And just as I started to sort through that and I started walking towards the tomb, I saw that he wasn't in there. And then he appeared to me, and I know I sound crazy. Why would he appear to me? And now I'm in this place of wondering why too. Why me? Why choose someone that they will never believe? Someone as messed up as me. He showed me his hands and where they pierced him, where I watched them pierce through him and crucify him, and yet his body looked new. Like everything I saw hadn't happened, and it didn't make any sense, but I remember him telling us that he was gonna die and that he'd come back on the third day. And at the time, I didn't understand that. But in that moment, I knew. Like the first time I saw him, and I just knew. And I couldn't hold it together. I had to tell everyone that he had kept his promise, that everything he said was true. He had kept his promise.
But Thomas, one of the 12 disciples, who was called Didymus the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples kept telling him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the marks of the nails, and put my finger into the nail prints, and put my hand into his side, I will never believe." 8 days later, his disciples were again inside the house, and Thomas was with them. Jesus came, though the doors had been barred, and stood among them and said, "Peace to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach here with your finger and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not be unbelieving, but stop doubting and believe." Jesus said to him, "Because you have seen me, do you now believe? Blessed are they who did not see and yet believe."
Well, welcome to the Block Church, and I am so glad you are here. My name is Joey. I'm the lead pastor, and before we dive into the message, I want to welcome all of our locations, everyone who watches online. Come on, can we welcome them right now? Happy Easter to you. I hope you've enjoyed this so far, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up where our reporter left off. I'm going to share the story of Thomas with you, and you just saw the story being written and read, but I'm really going to break it down for you, and let me set the scene as to what's happening. So essentially what's happened is Jesus has appeared to Mary, and he's also appeared to the disciples, but Thomas was not there. And so because Thomas wasn't there, he was feeling some sort of way. Have you ever been there? Where you're kind of like, man, where somebody's like, you had to be there, and like, yeah, I know, I wanted to be there. You know, and so he's probably feeling some sort of way, and I bet you the disciples are embellishing a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, they're probably like, oh man, it was so amazing, and Jesus came, and he cooked a steak and lamb, and he just made it appear, all we had was bread, and he was like, voila, I'm Italian Jesus now, you know, and it's like, and he made us pasta, we didn't have pasta, and like, that's probably what they were doing to Thomas, and so he's frustrated, he's hungry, right? But then, of course, as you read, Jesus shows up to Thomas. And it's this beautiful, powerful moment. And I think Jesus was saying something to Thomas as he showed up. Of course, he repeats Thomas, but he's saying this to Thomas. I really believe, and I believe that God would say this to you today on this resurrection day, that you didn't need to be there to experience me here and now. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the Lord, and I have been risen. I am here for you now. And I think sometimes we get caught up in what we missed, where we weren't, or what God didn't do. And then we forget to really believe and experience His goodness and His glory. And I'm telling you right now, right here and today, that God is here. He is our risen Lord. And you didn't have to be there to experience Him here and now. And that's the title of my message on this Easter Sunday is, you didn't need to be there. And I would love it if at all of our locations, you'd look at somebody and say that. Come on, you didn't need to be there. So the resurrection of Jesus is by far the most important moment in history. I mean, it's not even a question, because here's the thing. If Jesus was not resurrected from the dead, if He did not come back to life, okay, then this is all a sham. You and I were wasting our time. The disciples were wasting their time. I mean, they wasted 3 years of their life if Jesus didn't come back. In fact, if Jesus did not raise from the dead after He was murdered on the cross, then He was a magician, not the Messiah. Okay. But the truth is, and whether you believe it yet or not, the truth is that He is who He says He is. And that He did come back to life. In fact, I could go through all sorts of historical documentations that I believe proves it. But there were 500 witnesses that testify that the grave was empty and that Jesus was alive. Jesus, He was an actual character who died according to Roman history. He died on a Roman cross. And He was raised to life. I'm telling you, the resurrection is the linchpin of our faith. It holds it all together, and it's the truth. And for many, this mystery that we must uncover in this moment, it is what is going to move you from death to life. It's going to move you from living a mundane life to the miraculous life. It's the resurrection. It's the resurrection of Jesus that is true and that it's real, and it's why we are gathered here now. But Thomas makes this statement, and I think it's important for you to identify yourself with Thomas for a moment, because the reality is we're often more like Thomas than we want to be. And he makes this statement, and I want to walk through this story, by the way, piece by piece. But he makes this statement before Jesus actually appears to him, and he says this to the disciples in his frustration: "Unless I see in His hands the marks of the nails, and put my finger into the nail prints, and put my hand into His side, I will never believe." That's a strong statement. I think it's a scary statement, and it's really strong, especially because Thomas got to see Jesus do miracles. It's especially significant because Thomas was the miracle. Do you understand that literally bread and fish and things multiplied in His hands, yet here He is going, "I don't know if I'll believe." How many times have we been there? How many times have we seen God do something in our life in the past, and because we missed something that somebody else may have gotten, right? We miss something and then we go, I don't know, that's not for me. Maybe God isn't real after all. Or we go through one hardship or one difficulty or trouble and just, where's God? Unless He does it, I won't believe. But is it possible that there might be some mystery, there might be some blessing in this idea that you didn't need to be there to experience Him in your moment now? Have you ever been so disappointed that it paralyzed you? Have you ever been so disappointed that it made your mind foggy? I'll be honest with you, the past week and a half or so, I experienced disappointment on a level that, man, I didn't know if it was possible. A week or two ago, I received a phone call from a pastor who said, my church is closing. We have a beautiful, huge building, and we are not going to exist any longer. Would you like the building? And I said, is this a trick question? I'm a church planter. Would I like the building? How much? He said, $1. I just... And so we went and we met with his council, we met with his group, and they sat there with our elders and theirs, and we sat there, and they verbally committed. They said, yes, the building is yours. After Easter, we're going to give you this building. And I'm thinking, wow, man, we fasted, we prayed. This is what I've been fasting for. I'm about ready to turn over my overflow key. In fact, I was going to announce that this week on Easter, I was going to tell the church, we got a building. And then we went on and we paid for an inspection and we invested resources into making sure this was going to be our building. But what happened? Well, right before I was about to preach on Sunday night, I get a text message that says the deal is off. I mean, how do you go preach after that? I mean, I did, and it was a great sermon. You can watch it on YouTube. But I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, what a punch in the gut. I'm disappointed. And then it sent me into a tailspin on Monday. I'll be honest with you. I don't get depressed. It's not something I struggle with necessarily. But I was pretty glued to my bed on Monday. I was very disappointed. And it made me think to myself, God, are you ever going to come through for us? Are you ever going to come through for us? I mean, I was just defeated. Have you ever been there where you're defeated? Oh. And I felt like the Lord spoke to me and he said, son, disappointment contributes to disbelief. And many people, listen, many people in your church, many people in the world, many people who are struggling with a relationship with me, they're living on disappointment and it's leading towards disbelief and they are missing the extraordinary life. They're missing the power of the resurrection. Because they're living in their disappointment. Are you so disappointed that you don't believe anymore or you never let yourself believe in the first place? Did you feel like God let you down or God abandoned you or God wasn't there so you're disappointed? Are you so disappointed that you're doubting what God has done for you in the past? It didn't work out in this particular scenario, so now you're disappointed. And I could see Thomas in this moment going, I wasn't there, so surely God's not ever going to show up again. Is this real? Maybe they're making it up. God, did you forget about me? And what happens, listen to me, what happens is disappointment, it contributes to disbelief. And if we let disappointment fester long enough, it will lead to frustration. And then what frustration does is it comes from fear because we become fearful. And fear is rooted in abandonment. And I'm just putting myself in Thomas' shoes for a moment. I'm putting myself in his shoes because there's been moments, literally Monday, I'm laying in bed and go, God, you abandoned me. You give everybody buildings. Every time I go on Instagram, another one of my friends got a building for 50 cents. And you were charging me $1, God, and I still didn't get the building. Right? I mean, and it's just, and you feel like, God, what, do you do it for everybody else? I don't have any direction for my life. I feel abandoned. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I feel broken. I feel hurt about things that happened in the past. Or I just don't know if I believe. And I've been disappointed. I've seen people act and say they were Christians, but they acted crazy and hurt other people. So now I'm disappointed. I feel abandoned. I don't know what I believe. Here I am. Have you been there? Have you been there? And I think, what happens so many times is we experience disappointment and we let disappointment fester. And we think that God has forgotten about us because mom died of cancer. Or we think God has forgotten about us because something tragic took place. Or God did it for somebody else. And let me tell you something. Your experience with God is different than anyone else's experience with God. Stop comparing your experiences with God with somebody else's experience. Because if you live on somebody else's experience with God, then you will live disappointed and feel abandoned. See, the thing is sometimes we get so caught up in what didn't happen, listen to me, that we lose hope in what great things still can happen. Come on, let me say that again. You believe that. Everybody, every location. Sometimes we get so caught up in what didn't happen that we lose hope in what great things still can happen. God can use your pain. God can use your disappointment. God can use what you saw as abandonment. God can use your trouble and turn it into a testimony. Do I have anybody with me on Resurrection Sunday? God did not abandon you. He might have just been teaching you. And Tuesday came, and I got up, and I had to write a sermon. And I was either going to live in the disappointment of yesterday and what I missed or what God didn't do, or I was going to press in and lean in and have hope for what he still can do. And so I began to write a sermon, and here we are. And I don't have all the answers figured out, and guess what? You won't either. Resurrection is not about having all the answers figured out. It's just about the fact that Jesus is with you in the midst of the questions. Come on, you believe that? God can still give us a building, and I believe a better one. One with no foundational issues. I believe God can give us a building for a penny. Come on, somebody. And I believe God can still do for you. Maybe you've been praying 40 days of fasting and prayer. You haven't seen the prayers. I believe God can still do it. You're praying for your kids to come to Christ. I believe God can still do it. You're praying for your marriage to be healed. I believe God can still do it. Whatever it is that you're believing God for or needing from God, I believe he can still do it. He just does it in his timing, his way, and it's always better. And we see in hindsight that God was working it out all along. But if we live in our disappointment, in our defeat, and in our abandonment, listen to me, if we live there and if we stay there, we will never experience that he's actually here right now. Verse 26, the Bible says that 8 days later, his disciples were again inside the house, and Thomas was with them. Jesus came through the doors, though the doors, had been barred. They were bars. They were hiding. And Jesus says this to Thomas. He says, reach here with your finger and see my hands. And put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not be unbelieving. That's a word for somebody. Do not be unbelieving, but stop doubting and believe. That's simple. This moment kind of reminds me of when I was a teenager. I was so mad at my mom for something that didn't matter and was probably stupid. And I was looking out the door to see if she was there, and I was talking to somebody on the phone, right? And I called her a name. And I was like, I got away with that. And literally moments later, my mother walked in the room and she's like, oh, I'll show you what that name means. But it kind of reminded me of this. Now, of course, Jesus responded in love, not sarcasm. Okay, but Jesus basically to Thomas actually repeats what Thomas says. I won't believe. Jesus goes, touch me. You will believe. And I believe that promise is here for you and I today. We can touch God. We can experience, we can look upon his scars and know that the pains we experience, he experienced too. He went through, we can touch, we can know, we can sense the presence of God. We got to stop worrying about not being there or what didn't happen and embrace the fact that he's here right now. I believe that Jesus is essentially saying once again to Thomas and to us, you didn't need to be there because I'm here now. I'm here for you right now. You don't need to dwell on past events. Come on. You don't need to focus on what you missed. You don't need to regret any longer. You don't need to be disappointed any longer. You don't need to think you missed something. You don't need to think God abandoned you. You don't need to stop comparing your experience to somebody else. Leave the past. Leave what you're afraid about there. Start new, start fresh today. His mercies are new today. He makes us a new creation today. Hope is here today. New life is here today. Stop worrying about what was missed and embrace what is now. You can walk out of this place a new creation. You can walk out of this place with a new headspace. You can walk out of this place with resurrected hope. You can walk out of this place with a conformed mind, with a renewed spirit. You can walk out of this place with hope. Hope is here. Guess what? Guess what? When God comes through for you, he comes through for you. Think about this. And I'm almost done, but I just love this concept. When God comes through for you, he comes through for you. Jesus showed up to all the disciples, and Thomas wasn't there, and he was throwing a fit. But God knows your heart. God knows what triggers you and what hurts you and what messes with you. God did not forget about Thomas. He showed up that day just for Thomas. I'm telling you, there is something just for you that God has for you. And when he shows up just for you. Now, he will eventually use that moment where he comes and redeems you and resurrects you for somebody else. Did you know, listen to this, did you know that Thomas goes on, this is so powerful, Thomas goes on to spread the gospel, and he is the reason that there is Christianity in India today. Because he believed. Because he touched the Lord. Because the Lord came and showed up for him, and Thomas said, okay, God, I believe. And so I'm going to go. And so whenever God does something fresh, whenever he resurrects something in you, he does it so that he can do it in somebody else. You can't just take Resurrection Sunday and take it for yourself, because I'm telling you, as you're resurrected, God is going to use that to use you to make that moment happen for somebody else. Jesus says, listen, the Bible says, oh, I love this, and I'm closing with this, but the Bible says that Jesus, he went around, he moved through the bars that were up. You have to understand, the disciples at this point, they are afraid. They don't know what's going to happen. Jesus, the grave is empty. The guards and the tomb and all of that uproar has happened. They're afraid what's going to happen for their life, so they're hiding. Have you ever hid from God? And maybe they're not hiding from God, but I believe that it's proverbial, it's metaphorical, where the fact that they're hiding and they've put bars up, they don't know what's going to happen. And Jesus said to them that in this life, you'll have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. And so even though they're hiding behind these bars, Jesus moves through the bars and he says, I am the I am. He moves through the bars and says, I am here. You don't have to fear. You don't have to be afraid. If you're struggling with fear today or anxiety today, you don't have to fear. Why? Because he is the I am. He says, I am the bread of life, which means I'm your supply. I am the light of the world, which means I am your hope. It says, I am the door of the sheep, which means I open doors that no man can shut, even if there's bars, and if you put bars on your heart, I'm coming through because I love you and I was resurrected for you. I am the good shepherd, which means I know your hurts and your pains. I protect you and I love you and I use all of it for my glory and for your good. Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life, and all the answers you're looking for and the questions, it's found right here in me. He says, I'm the vine, which means I'll give you wisdom and peace. He says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, which means even though you thought I wasn't there, I was there, and I'll be there then and tomorrow and now. And finally, he says, I'm the resurrection and the life. I'm not just in the event. I'm not just on Easter. I'm in every single day. I'm the resurrection and I'm the life. All you got to do is believe. The thing is, listen to me. The thing is you don't have to have been there, because he's here now. You don't have to have been there. The Bible says in verse 29, and I want to close with this verse. It says, Jesus said to him, because you have seen me, do you now believe? But this is the catch. This is the mystery right here. This is the mystery. Blessed, happy, spiritually secure, and favored by God are they who do not see me and yet believe in me. In other words, Jesus was saying to generations and generations, you didn't need to be there because I'm still here. I resurrected for them and I resurrected for you. What could happen? What could you do? Thomas went to India because he believed. What could you become because you believe? What could we be because we believe? And what God's saying to you today is stop making the excuses. Stop making all of the abandonment issues, and stop. I'm here now to love you, to hold you, to care for you, to give to you. I am the I am. You didn't have to be there because I'm here now. The mystery is if you believe, you will be blessed. You will experience, oh God, you will be resurrected. Come on, you believe that today. Can you give God, come on, can we give God the highest praise every location? God, we worship you. We thank you for your resurrection. Now, what I would love What I would love to do is at every location, I would love for you to stand. And we're going to sing one of our original songs of victory. And I want to believe. I want to make this declaration of belief. Jesus, thank you for your resurrection. We love you. We need you. And we trust you. We didn't need to be there to believe you're here right now. In Jesus' name, amen.